back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Dano, and I discuss anything within the realms of interior design, architecture, as well as anything creative. In this video, I will be showcasing some of the upcoming color palettes from various paint vendors for 2025. I will be focusing on three main paint vendors that are relatively widespread in their use across the industry, but I will also acknowledge that some of these trends will also be similar and can be seen within other paint vendors. The three paint vendors relevant to this video are Sherwin-Williams, Behr, and PPG. To begin this discussion, I had the pleasure of being invited and attending the webinar hosted by Sherwin-Williams that covered their Color Capsule of the Year for 2025. Color Capsule of the Year began in 2011 and was primarily a way of establishing branding for organizations, companies, and interiors. Ever since its creation, color palettes have served as vital components in design and change continuously to reflect and adapt to trends. There are various trend drivers for each year that help establish colors for each palette. For 2025, the main drivers are stealth wealth, planetary empathy, intuitive and adaptive design, and critical circularity. Stealth wealth is a driver that is reminiscent of a sense of quiet luxury that can be seen in several contemporary and modern interiors, where everything is relatively simple, clean, and organic with a touch of drama. Planetary empathy is fairly self-explanatory with an emphasis on environmental hues derived from nature and natural materials, but also utilizing materials that are eco-conscious. Intuitive and adaptable design refers to space planning interiors in such a way that rooms can be used to accommodate a variety of functions or having flexibility in foresight. Critical circularity ties back to the points made with planetary empathy in that we will be including materials that are recyclable, biodegradable, and reusable in a circular economy. For Sherwin-Williams 2025 Color Capsule, the colors are derived from designer favorites like Grounded, Bosque Pear, Rain Cloud, and Clove. Modern classics like Chartreuse, Mauve Finery, and Malabar. And lastly, bright whites like Sun-Bleached and White Snow. This color palette, in my opinion, is the most restrictive out of the other options mentioned throughout this video. Next up, we have Behr's color palette for 2025. This palette is a little bit of a step up in regards to variation. The palette consists of natural tones that are earthy and warm. So we start with their color of the year, which is Rumors. Then we also include neutrals like Blank Canvas, Nutmeg Frost, Even Better Beige, Oxford Street, Rock Crystal, Wild Truffle, Gardener Soil, and Cracked Pepper. And then naturals, which are just hues that are derived from the natural environment, like Amazon Jungle, Boreal, Frosted Jade, Aerial View, Black Sapphire, and Jackfruit. Behr's palette is roughly a ratio of 45% warm to 45% cool to 10% neutral hues. In my opinion, this palette from Behr is a good middle ground in terms of hue variety, but also cohesiveness, since they all have relatively warm undertones to them. And lastly, we have PPG's palette, which is the most diverse out of the three mentioned here. The palette is similar to the Behr one, but with one or two tints and shades of each hue. Additionally, this palette is relatively analogous in its scheme, meaning that when looking at the overall palette, it will consist of colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. So, for example, the main colors that I see that stick out to me when looking at this palette will be greens, blues, and purples. And these are all relatively cool tones. Of course, there are other hues here, but I would say that it is roughly a 60% cool to 25% neutrals and 15% warm hues. So we start with PPG's color of the year, which is Purple Basil. And just for the sake of this video's length, I'm not going to bother mentioning the remainder of these colors because there are about 25 additional colors to this palette, including the color of the year, so it would just be too long. However, some of my favorites from this palette are Aquamarine Dream, Shaded Whisper, Cosmic, Kimono, Dark Green Velvet, Red Wine, Brandy Snaps, Gray Heron, and lastly, of course, PPG's color of the year, Purple Basil. The current color trend for 2025 is going more into a moody and muted color scheme that makes me think of the word Gaia, referring to Mother Earth with several hues in each palette consisting of earth tones, muted tones, and colors derived from nature. In my opinion, this move into darker and more dramatic colors will prove interesting in the near future and will bring more personality into our interiors. Out of the three palettes, I would most likely stick to the bare one due to the overall balance of the scheme, but if I want more options to explore, I would probably go with the PPG color palette. Well, that's all that I have for this video, y'all, so let me know down in the comments which palette you like the most and how you think these will impact interiors. I'm thinking for my next video, I will cover some basics in color theory just to expand on this topic a little bit more, but just stay tuned for that. So, other than that, I will see you on the next video. Ciao, y'all!